And this is from Chelsea, and Enzo Fernández and his agent have apologised to Chelsea for comments that he made whilst he was on international duty in Argentina. Now, Fernández said in interviews that he would welcome living in Madrid, leaving the door open to moving to Real Madrid in the summer. No talks have been held about selling Fernández. He has got a Chelsea contract until 2032. The head coach, Liam Rosenior, announced last Friday that Fernández would not be in the squad for 2 matches, so Port Vale last Saturday and Manchester City on Sunday. Real Madrid will sign a midfielder this summer, and Fernández is one of their targets. He's valued at more than £100 million, but Chelsea are not trying to sell the player. He is one of the players seeking improved terms, but his cause will not have been helped by the comments that he made in Argentina. But Fernández and his agent have apologised to Chelsea for those comments made. So we'll bring you any developments on that, of course. Dean, I wanted to ask you about this. Do you think that's the right thing, that they've apologised to the club?
Yeah, rightly so. I mean, to come out so freely with the comments that he made, he's fallen into that trap that many players fall into, which is behind the scenes when there are talks and rumours. As players, as agents, let's not all be naive enough to think there isn't stuff going on in the background. And he's ultimately fallen foul of maybe a rumour, or maybe more than that, of what might happen next season, what the options could be. And he's come out and said some comments he certainly shouldn't have done. And he's gone very, very early on that. And, you know, he's had the captain's armband on for a lot of the season. So you are that role model leading Chelsea, who paid a hell of a lot of money for him. He's on a fantastic contract as well. And so rightly so, he should have to come out and apologise to his teammates, to the club and to the supporters.
Does it feel almost like Liam Rosenior may have won in this situation? You know, what did you make of the fact that he banned Fernández for 2 games? You know, this is a big one coming up on Sunday against Manchester City. There has been a bit of, you know, mixed opinions on how he's treated the situation. What did you make of it?
He can't win. He can't win. He doesn't want one of his best players not to be involved. But at the same time, he's trying to make a stand to the rest of the players that this is our captain that has made comments, and it simply isn't acceptable. And no matter the importance of games coming up, I have to make a point to the rest of the squad. Of course, Cucurella is one of those that has also made comments, and that's another situation, of course. But I feel for Liam Rosenior because he's having to deal with this in the way that he feels fit to do so. But he was never going to win in this situation.
2 senior players as well in Cucurella and Fernández speaking out a bit differently between them both. But as a new head coach, does it feel like Rosenior needs to put his foot down and make it clear his intentions if this kind of behaviour goes on?
I think it's really important if players do come out and speak the way that they have done, that he makes a point that it's not okay. I think ultimately it's him that takes the brunt of the criticism if the team aren't playing well. It's not the players. The players can shuffle away and hide if they want to. It's the manager that's got to front up constantly that will take the brunt of that. And so he is going to, however his Chelsea career goes as a manager there, he'll look back and think, do you know what, at least I've done it my way with how I think things should be done, how the way that players at this football club under my management should act. At least then he can go, well, no, I've done that in the proper way, how I see fit. However Chelsea fans see Fernández not being involved or not, I think that's strength from a manager. That's what I would want to see from my manager, because other players will look around, and if you let that go, other players then think, well, OK, he's weak. They do. That's how players would look at that situation.
OK. And in terms of Fernández, as you say, Chelsea spent a lot of money on him. Can you see why he's wanted by Real Madrid? Yes,
yeah. I mean, he's a terrific player. Obviously, an international, a successful international at that, of course. I think there is leadership there, not in this, obviously, but I have seen leadership in the games in terms of wanting to take control of the games in front, in terms of not hiding in games, certainly. And he's got a huge amount of quality, and he's still quite young. So Of course, I can understand why he will constantly, and you are selfish as a player, you constantly want to better yourself, you want to get to the highest level you can and win the best trophies. So there is always going to be a selfishness, but there's a right way of doing things, and he's just got caught up in thinking, because there's pressure maybe from other clubs, from his agent. You as a player are the one that's got to front that, and I think he's made the wrong choice in saying something certainly so early.
Enzo Fernández and his agent have apologized to Chelsea after his comment made during international duty in Argentina caused an unexpected ripple back in London. Enzo Fernández has always felt like the kind of player who moves with confidence on the pitch and increasingly in the conversation around his future. But this week, that confidence came with consequences. According to reports, Fernández and his agent have apologized to Chelsea after comments made during international duty in Argentina caused an unexpected ripple back in London. The apology isn't the end of anything, not really. It's more like a pause, one that Chelsea as a club never takes lightly when it comes to messaging, loyalty, and respect for contracts. And for Fernández, it's also a reminder that words travel fast, especially when they're spoken in high-profile interviews and then replayed across multiple markets. So what happened? What exactly did Fernández say? And, most importantly, what does it mean for Chelsea, for his relationship with the club's supporters, and for the ever-present shadow of Real Madrid? Let's break it all down, because this story has far more layers than a simple apology statement headline. The comments that sparked the apology. During interviews while on international duty in Argentina, Fernández made remarks that many interpreted as Madrid-leaning and that inevitably triggered concerns inside Chelsea. In those interviews, he said that he would welcome the idea of living in Madrid. Just as significantly, he left the door open to the possibility of moving to Real Madrid in the summer. These are the sorts of comments that can sound harmless to a player at first, especially when asked personal questions like where they might like to live or what kind of environments they're curious about in the future. Players often speak in possibilities, in dreams, in what-if scenarios. But when your club is fighting in the spotlight, when your name is attached to ongoing transfer speculation, and when a new era under a high-expectation project is underway, even half-open wording can be read as a signal. To Chelsea, the issue wasn't simply that Fernández liked Madrid, it was the implied openness about a potential move to Real Madrid, something that Chelsea, as a major English power with serious ambitions, would naturally want to control through proper channels, rather than through international quotes. And that's where the apology comes in. Why Chelsea cares what's said, even before any negotiations. Chelsea's relationship with its players is not built only on tactics and training schedules. It's built on trust. Trust that the athlete understands the club's long-term investment, trust that he honors the reality of a contract, and trust that he won't unintentionally inflame the market while he's still part of the squad. That's why comments made while on international duty can be so sensitive. A player isn't just a national team athlete for a few weeks. While away, they remain a Chelsea player in the public eye. Their words still affect the mood of supporters, internal perceptions in the club's hierarchy, media narratives in multiple countries, and the transfer market's assumptions. When a player suggests that Madrid is an attractive destination and mentions Real Madrid as a possible summer move, it becomes fuel for stories, often ones Chelsea would prefer not to feed. And in a football economy where every sentence gets turned into a negotiation headline, clubs are forced to act quickly when they believe a player's messaging may be misunderstood. The apology, not a panic, a reset. If Chelsea were genuinely shocked, if there were immediate signs of a desire to leave, this apology would likely be only one step in a larger process. Instead, what's being reported suggests the situation is more controlled than dramatic. Enzo Fernández and his agent have apologized to Chelsea. That matters because it signals a willingness to repair any damage and to clarify that the comments should not be treated as a commitment to leave. This is a key difference. An apology is often what you do when you believe the message is being interpreted worse than intended, or when you want to show respect without necessarily changing a player's personal opinions about where they could dream of living in the future. Apologies in football are rarely about regret for desire.
They're about communication, timing, and professionalism. And from Chelsea's perspective, professionalism is non-negotiable. Chelsea doesn't want a situation where contract years are compromised by uncertainty and media pressure. So the apology, at its core, is about control, club control, narrative control, and trust. No talks have been held about selling Fernández, and he has a Chelsea contract until 2032. This one detail shifts the entire tone of this story. It means Chelsea is currently not entertaining the idea of a sale. It means any speculation about a summer exit lacks official backing. In football, speculation often moves quicker than reality, but reality, especially reality backed by long contracts, still sets the boundaries. A contract to 2032 isn't a short-term relationship. It's not a one more season than we see. It's an extended commitment that signals one of two possibilities. Chelsea expects to build the team around Fernández for years, or Chelsea is prepared to withstand interest, bids, and pressure because the leverage is firmly with the club. The club is therefore in a stronger position than the public imagination might suggest. Fernández's comments might have stirred noise, but the club's stance appears steady. He is not for sale, at least in no formal way. Contract until 2032, what it really means for Chelsea. Fans sometimes underestimate what long contracts do strategically. A deal lasting to 2032 isn't only financial, it's psychological and sporting as well. It protects Chelsea's planning. Chelsea can plan around him without fearing the rug will be pulled out in one transfer window. That affects not just squad selection, but also the way coaches structure the team. It increases their bargaining power. Even if Real Madrid or any other giant shows interest, the price becomes non-negotiable. Clubs with short contracts are easier to pull apart. Clubs with long deals can demand strong terms or refuse entirely. It gives Chelsea room to manage narratives. Chelsea can address comments through internal communication and public messaging without looking weak. They can show discipline. We heard it, we responded, and we're not panicking. In football, that matters. Every club, particularly top clubs, tries to maintain stability to keep players focused. Where Madrid fits into Fernández's story. It's also worth asking, why did Fernández mention Madrid? Because from a player's perspective, Madrid isn't simply another city. It's the home of one of the biggest football legacies in the sport. For any elite midfielder or creative talent, Madrid often represents a history-rich club, a massive global audience, a high standard of football culture, and the chance to compete at the very top of Europe every season. So if Fernández said he would welcome living in Madrid, he may have been speaking honestly about ambition and life choices. However, the detail about leaving the door open to Real Madrid in the summer is where the line between future dream and current message gets blurred. Chelsea may view the statement as something a player should keep internal until the correct processes are followed, especially while they still have him tied down until 2032. Real Madrid interest, a dream, not a demand. Even if Real Madrid admire Fernández, and it's easy to imagine they would, interest and action are different things. In the football world, top clubs monitor talent relentlessly. Many players might dream of the biggest stages, but for Real Madrid to make a move, several conditions must align. The player must be available, the selling club must agree, the price must be right, and the timing must match squad needs. Chelsea's reported position, no talks, long contract, suggests Madrid can admire him without being able to force anything. That's how the best clubs protect themselves. They don't panic every time a player says something flattering to a rival. They manage the situation and retain leverage. What Chelsea will likely do next? Chelsea will likely not take a public hardline approach. In most cases, clubs prefer calm internal handling unless the situation escalates beyond apologies. So, what might come next? Clear internal expectations. Fernández and his representatives may receive a reminder about how future interview answers should be framed, especially around clubs in the transfer spotlight. Media management. Chelsea may choose to keep communication limited, letting the apology speak for itself, rather than drawing even more attention. Focus on performances. Often the best statement a club can make is results on the pitch. If Fernández continues to perform at a high level, outside narratives lose power. Squad stability. Coaches will want to keep the team's internal culture stable. Any suggestion that the player's future is uncertain can impact locker room dynamics, so the club's priority will be reassurance. The player's perspective, being honest without misstepping. There's also a humane element to this story. Fernández is an athlete, not a communication strategist. Players sometimes answer interviews in a way that seems natural to them. They might speak about places they find attractive, or they might reference the big dream of football without intending to imply immediate departures. But professionalism requires recognizing that public statements become part of the football market. Once you're in that spotlight, even casual comments can be interpreted as signals. In that sense, the apology is not only about loyalty to Chelsea, it's about learning how to handle the global machinery surrounding elite players. What this means for Chelsea supporters. Chelsea fans can be passionate, and in moments like these, emotions can swing quickly between excitement and concern. Some supporters may think, if he's talking like that now, what happens next year? Others will respond, the contract is until 2032, and Chelsea isn't selling. We'll trust the club. The apology may actually help reduce anxiety. It shows the player acknowledges the club's feelings and doesn't want a damaged relationship. In football, relationships matter. A club doesn't want a tense atmosphere. It wants commitment, even if a player's dreams include future giants. The key is whether the dream becomes action, while the player